I love a rustic small kitchen like this one right here. This tiny little stove and this little bitty sink with all the dishes hand washed. And it really makes me think about where I came up, where I grew up in North Louisiana. We went on vacation and here we are. We're near Franklin, North Carolina, and Janice. We stopped by a farmer's market and I picked up some southern peas. Looks like we got a little mess of probably conch peas in here. So I wanted to show you how we do peas back home in North Louisiana. Show you how to make a mess of peas and then turn it into something delicious. I mean, really delicious. So stick around and I'll show you how to turn this little bitty kitchen in this one pot into a meal. Okay, so I'm going to start off here with what to you might look like some really thick cut bacon, but to me it looks like salted pork side meat. So I'm going to take about half of this pork side meat and I'm going to cut it up into chunks. This part's pretty simple. I'm really just going to dump this down into the pot. Oh, I wish you could smell it. It already smells great. Alright, well, while the pork is rendering, I'm going to go ahead and rinse off my vegetables. Now, these are the classic aromatics, southern cooking. Got some celery here. Got a bell pepper. And I have an onion, but I'm not going to rinse that. That'd just be silly. Okay, keep an eye on that pork. Turn it down a little bit. Make sure that it doesn't cook too fast. You just want to get the oil out of this fat. Cut this celery up. And I like to make the celery, pretty fine. It's not going to matter too much because the process is going to cook this whole thing down anyways. But I'll take each one of these ribs and I'll cut it into 3 pieces. And then chop it up. You got to make sure you get everything all the same size all the time. Similarly with the bell pepper, I'm just gonna tear this guy up a little bit. But in the end, the goal is to get it all the same size, even the same size as the celery, if you can. So once you got a good handle on how much bell pepper you're putting in there, just start chopping it up. Of course, if you've seen any cooking shows at all, you already know how to cut up an onion. But just in case you don't, here's how I do it. Cut it in half, set it on its side, I chop off the top, then I chop it into quarters. And that makes it real easy to peel that skin off the outside. Then put it back together again and I slice it down the middle. Maybe twice, depending on how big your onion is. Then turn it and chop down into slices like this, because I just want chopped onion. So that's what this is going to be when we're done here. About the same size as the celery, wouldn't you say? And then next we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Our bacon's still rendering over there. So you can see our pork side meat is pretty much rendered. Might be a little bit left in there to get out, but what we're looking for is that oil down the bottom. That's what we want. We want that. That's what we're going to cook our aromatics in. It's real important to render that pork fat nice and slow. You don't want to smoke up your house, and you certainly don't want a grease fire. So nice and low. Once you got it up and started and the fat's coming out of it, just turn it down to almost like a simmer. You just want to barely hear it bubbling. So now I'm going to remove those crispy little bits of pork side meat. Try to leave as much grease in there as I can. So we're going to sweat our vegetables next. So the nice thing about using this salted pork side meat is every now and then you can taste a little bit of it and see how good it is. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's gonna do alright, I think. You put too much of this in there, your beans will be too salty. Now, that's not a bad thing as long as you have some really sweet cornbread to eat it with. Alright, we got our pork side meat out of there. We're going to go ahead and add in our Trinity. For those of y'all that don't know, Trinity is Louisiana staple. That is the onion, celery, and the bell pepper we just dumped in there. Now we're going to cook this until the onions start to turn translucent. Alright, you know you got the temperature right if you can hear a nice little bubble down there. And you are going to have to stir this from time to time. It's not going to cook itself. That's what you're here for, okay? Don't worry about the amount of grease that's in there. You're going to need that for those beans. It's going to make all the difference in the world. The last batch of these peas we got, I had to peel myself, so I washed them myself, and I did everything all myself. But these, I couldn't find another stand that had fresh from the farm peas, so these we're going to have to wash again, just to make sure. You never want to go through a mess of peas and just eat them without picking through them, because you never know, there might be a rock in there, and it's always good to get any of those little bits of pea fluff, stuff that's on the inside of the pea pod, out of there. And for goodness sake, don't forget to stir your Trinity over here. Yeah, I usually just grab them back out. I rinsed out this little container they were all in. And again, we got 2 packages of these, so dump them in there. Swirl them around, look for any bad ones, and get out any leaves and stuff like that, little bits of bean shell you don't want. So you can see our onions have started to turn translucent, so I took it off the heat. And I'm getting ready to get started doing some real cooking here. I'm going to take these peas, I'm just going to dump them in there. Might as well dump the rest of them in there too, huh? Look at there. Look at that. And we'll go ahead and put the pork in there, a little salted pork. Okay, so that's like bacon right now, but it'll soak up with the water we're going to put in there. And then we might not have to put any salt in there. We're going to taste it late in the game just to see. Well, so what's missing? Probably ought to put some water in here. You need just enough water to cover everything that's in here, plus maybe about a little bit more than an inch. I don't know if you can see that in there or not. Alright, so you see, if yours looks like this, then you got it just about right. I'm going to turn this on to high, and get this thing starting to boil a little bit, and then we'll take another look at it in just a minute. So here you can see you've got some bubbles, some foam that's come to the top. I'm just going to scoop some of that out. Scoop it out around the edge a little bit. Right, you'll notice that I haven't salted it yet, because there's a lot of salt in that salt pork. But I am going to put some pepper in here. Okay, so I tasted it, and it tastes like it needs just a little bit of salt. Not too much, right up. It'll continue to thicken up a little bit more. Now, if your peas were dry, you need to let them soak overnight. If you hold them yourself and they were dry inside of the bean, maybe soak them for an hour. These were all pretty green, so I just went straight into boiling them. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take some bacon from this morning. I know, more pork, right? I'm just going to tear it up and throw it in there. I got about 2 full-size pieces of bacon that are torn in half in here. Tasted it just a minute ago. Tasted like it needed a little bit more salt, and that's okay. This bacon will do the job, and I put a little more pepper in it too. This kind of food reminds me of back when I was a kid. My grandma used to grow black-eyed peas in the backyard, and we would all meet over at her house for dinner, and all we could have was peas. We had peas and rice, and peas and cornbread, peas and ham. It was great. I mean, it's so easy, and it was small living, you know, a small kitchen. Yes. I hope that you guys can have this kind of a meal sometime too. Try it. It's easy. You'll love it. See how the liquid is thickened up. Some of the beans have probably popped in there, and starches have come out of them, thickened up the liquid a little bit. And that's going to go really nice over some cornbread. Let's see what this tastes like. That is so good. You guys gotta do this. It's so good. Okay, so we cooked it for 3 hours and it's pretty much done. And I don't know what to say next. I'm winging it, folks. It's delicious. Make it. Eat it.